My name is Katlego Maphai. I'm the CEO of Yoco Technologies.
Welcome to the African Tech Roundup.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And congratulations on the announcement of the latest round of investment for your business.
Thanks. Much appreciated. We're really happy to be here, and it's an exciting phase for the company.
Let me just get my pet peeve out of the way. I hate that you're not saying how much you guys is on the table. And I know there's reasons for it. Give me some.
The main reason is a strategic decision. We're in a competitive environment. And right now, we've just decided to delay the disclosure of the figure. So it's not that we're not doing it, we're just delaying the disclosure.
Okay, and so where does it feature in terms of it being a seed investment, pre-series or Series A?
It's a Series A by sort of typical technology standards.
Talk about how you went about bringing your current partners to the table. Talk us through who supported you through the angel investment stage, through the seed stage, and now to your Series A, and then how you went about choosing the right partners for this next chapter. So you can name drop, whatever you like.
With pleasure. So we raised our initial round at the beginning of 2014. It was predominantly angel investors. It took us a few months to raise that round. The interesting thing about that round is that we weren't operational as a company. We had just received our license to operate from our partner bank, and when we got that license to operate, we did the capital call from the people that we're raising from, and then we did a few more seed rounds following that, and then we started doing the roadshow for the Series A in Q3 2016. We looked both locally and abroad, but in the end, we had a few sets of criteria that we wanted for the round. So having investors who had experience in fintech. Investors who sort of understood this existing group of investors and stakeholders that we had in the organization, and showed good respect towards them. A lot of these guys had come in very early and came in with a lot of risk, and they've really helped us along the way. And having new partners coming in, we really needed them to be supportive of these older stakeholders. The next bit is really doing a deal with terms negotiated in the right spirit, and also a deal that left the management team, the founders, and the organization really feeling energized after conclusion. There's no point doing a deal feeling like you on the losing end of something. It actually puts you on the back foot as you try to move into the next phase of the business. So yeah, in these partners, we ticked a lot of these boxes, and we couldn't be happier.
And so, let me into the psyche of a startup founder in this process, and there must be a pragmatic knowledge that you can't win at everything. Exactly. In other words, there were boxes unchecked. Like, what are some of those things that you sort of have to, allow yourself to make peace with as part of this process?
So, there's always a lot on the table, right? So there's the amount, there's valuation, there's the terms of the investment, liquidation preferences, the composition of the board. There's a whole set of things. And I think the key thing is really getting all these things on the table, and both parties being quite transparent about what's important to them. And that's a really important process because, the moment you start making assumptions as to what is important to the other party, you could completely miss a nuance. So once again, when you're engaging with experienced and open investors who are pro-founder, these types of discussions, I'm not saying they're easy, but they all come from the right place. Both parties want to end up at the end of the deal feeling like, we made a good investment, we received some great partners, and let's go on and, do something wonderful with this new relationship.
Does it put you under pressure to know that the day you do declare, how much money was involved, the great origin story, we might look back in history and go, man, They got taken. Do you give it? Is there any kind of that pressure when you're in these deals?
No, not at all. And to be frank, one thing that sets Yoco apart, and the way me and my partners have gone about doing this business, is the horizons in which we think. We're thinking in 10, 20-year horizons. And in that sense, any investment partner, any partner to the business that's sort of stepping into our home, we go through rigorous due diligence from both sides. And we've always been very clear. We would rather shut down the company and just stop than take on the wrong partners, because you're effectively dying a very slow death. And you're wasting a lot of people's time, and you're wasting a lot of resources. So we've been quite fortunate in the company that we've been able, with this mindset of really taking the time to work with the right partners and being patient and having long-term horizons, has always ensured that we're working with the right people. And with this round, the same thing continues. So when we look back on today and this round, I'm certain that it's always going to be with fondness and always with the sense that this was a great inflection.
So let's talk about this business, because there are many interesting aspects to it that you might think, oh, I totally get what they're doing, and totally miss it. Firstly, you guys are B2B, which is quite interesting. It's quite easy to think that you're a one-trick pony. You look at the two products you guys put out and think, oh, okay, that's what they do. They might be in some problem if mobile money takes off properly and that kind of thing. So in the spirit of sort of helping us all understand what it is you're here to do, and what's informing those decisions, bearing in mind the horizons you mentioned, tell us about your business.
Yeah, so we see our business almost like an iceberg, right? At the tip is the card reader, but below is an incredible amount of depth.
So there's a card reader that obviously is a point of sale device that lets, I imagine, companies that didn't previously allow or facilitate card payments in their establishments now do so. Okay, so that's the tip of the iceberg in your analogy.
Exactly, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's what consumers see when they go and they dip their cards, etc. But there's a lot of depth, and the depth actually starts with how we go about targeting and actually onboarding SMEs. So this is something we've really been quite innovative in. So sort of typically with traditional card machines, it would take you a couple of weeks to get one. That's if you got approved. So we estimate there was like a 50% approval rate, right? And that was really because the traditional institutions needed like months of trading history to verify you as a business. You needed to be reachable by a salesperson. You needed to be in a good commercial area that was also reachable. You needed steady revenues. So all these things that really did not speak to small or new businesses. So this is actually where we spent a lot of our time, innovating and how we're structured and the like. And with Yoco, you get to our website, you sign up in under 10 minutes, you pick your card reader. Within that 10 minutes, we've already done all the sort of credit checks and done the vetting. And on average, within sort of 1.5 to 2 days, you have a card machine. This has never been done before. So we realized that we first thought we were solving a technology mobility problem. We then thought we were solving a cost problem. But we actually realized it was access that was the real issue. The sense that can I get a card machine? Yes or no? And we're solving that equation, and that's what's driving our ability to bring in all these new merchants into the market. So that's the first bit. And then the next bit is we actually see ourselves as a software company, a merchant acquisition platform. So the application that we've built that works hand in hand with the card machine is quite powerful. It's got point of sale functionality, allows you to track cash transactions. So we're actually also making ourselves agnostic of card. We want to be able to support all payment types that are relevant to merchants, so that they're not spending countless hours trying to reconcile all these different payments that they're receiving. Our job is really to get merchants out of admin by taking sort of this verified payment information and doing something useful with it. And in doing that, we can ensure that merchants are focused on the value-adding components of their business, really giving them time. So I've spoken about the app. We have the business portal, which is incredible. You know, there's almost a software as a service tool. The guys log in. They can see analytics of their business, when peak trading is, what's selling, who's selling. You know, they can add multiple staff members. They can even see how many tourists are coming through their location. You know, we allow them to track the number of foreign cards coming through. We also allow them to track how many repeat cards are coming through, so they can get a gauge of how much loyalty and how much their business is driven by repeat customers. So actually put a number to it. So this is just the beginning. We're only touching the surface on the analytics. But once again, our job is to be a platform to empower these SMEs to grow. And, you know, by collecting this payment data, which is sort of the lowest common denominator within the business, and doing something useful with it, we can really help these guys to get to the next level of operation. And also, it's quite amazing, like taking a business that was running on paper in Excel at best, to a business that's now in the cloud, and, you know, looking at analytics in real time. You know, our business owners are actually using tools that a lot of medium-sized businesses would dream of.
And so I don't imagine you and your team spend too much time agonizing over what other people are doing. There are certainly startups in your space doing, in many respects, exactly what you're doing. I think of maybe Coca, for example, here in South Africa. I'm curious, though, about the posture of the incumbent financial services community. So big players in the sort of plastic space, Visa and MasterCard, the banks who might see part of what you're doing as problematic in as far as what they hope, or what they'd like to think is part of a growth area, organic growth area for them. You know, it might take them a lot more time, but they eventually want to get to it, and you're probably making it a little more interesting for them than they were initially interested in, and all this. And how long do you feel you guys have to get it right, and right at the level of success from a traction and, you know, scale perspective, before, you know, you start worrying about, you know, a big move on the part of some of the major banks, or, you know, some of these plastic players who might decide, quite frankly, to not want to play want to play ball nicely, want to play nicely anymore?
Yeah. First of all, we're partners with Visa and MasterCard. You know, we're growing the acceptance base. You know, 70% of the 6,500 merchants on our platform had never accepted cards before. You know, there's a roughly even split between Visa and MasterCard in terms of their processing. So all of a sudden, we've grown the market for them. And growing the market is our key KPI, right? So it's 70%. Actually, this year, we're hoping to get it up to 80%. So what does that percentage mean? 80% off? 80% of the merchants we acquire have never accepted cards before. That's our goal. We're at 70% now. We want to get that up to 80%. So we're market makers. And in being market makers, we're actually doing an incredible service to the broader market, including the financial institutions. There's a reason these merchants were not economically attractive for them, for good reason, right? They're small, they're fragmented, they're unpredictable. And the traditional operating models, you know, with the salesperson and the reach and the cost, just doesn't, you know, they can't get to these guys at the cost structures that we can. But all of a sudden, we're like now, you know, formalizing a business. And, you know, we're never going to offer transactional banking services. We don't have any plans to get a banking license. So, you know, we're actually helping the ecosystem, right? It's actually, you know, formalizing business. With respect to other competition, what's interesting about us is that we're actually last movers. We were the last to enter the market. So, you know, Nedbank launched the Pocket Pause in 2013 as the first mover. The Absa Pebble also launched later on that year. And then you had ZipZap, you had Icoca. And this was all in sort of 2014. We launched in 2015. You know, in terms of growth, size, activity, new to card merchants, we're sort of clearly defining a very, very clear space for ourselves. And the main reason for that is, you know, really understanding the onboarding, the access, the frictionless accessibility of the product, and then really focusing on software and analytics and point of sale, and really seeing that that's actually the real hook and stickiness for these business owners. So all this is really allowing us to sort of play within our own space. What's also very helpful is we're not playing the price game like some of our competitors. We're playing the value game. And in that sense, the institutions are not only seeing us as growing the market, but we're actually not destroying the value within it either.
So a couple of important questions. Firstly, in terms of the horizon you guys think to, right? You have to know that mobile money is the future, or cryptocurrency might be a big part of how people transact. I know that we aren't there yet, and Africa is definitely, I think, a hotbed of hybridity around, creating what's needed now, right? In that context, what do you guys have planned?
So, in our branding, in our identity, like you'll never see us making reference to being a card company, right? We're a merchant acquisition platform. We're a tool for SME. We're a software company. In that sense, our application that sits on the smart device or the tablet can accept multiple payment types. We've actually set ourselves up for that, right? And you'll even start seeing that in South Africa. So we're excited about new payment types. Our job is to ensure that our merchants can accept whatever is relevant within the market. It just doesn't have to be card. And, when we start venturing north, you'll clearly start to see this. But the key thing is let the acceptance mechanism take a backseat. We are building software for SMEs to run better.
To follow on to that, there are many miscalculations or misperceptions around markets and how different and varied they are. South Africa, for example, which is very plastic rich, as it were. Kenya, which is still pretty much a cash economy, despite the success of M-Pesa and mobile money. And then all the different various markets on the continent, between those extremes. What are some of the most common misperceptions applied to the scenario that you observe?
What we've seen is these types of problems always looked at very top down at a very macro level. Our view is that when it comes to SMEs, it has to be looked at bottom up. Nobody's quite cracked the space, and it just comes down to perspective, right? And sort of labeling and packaging. They're not ready to adopt, all this kind of language, and not language around, well, we didn't build a good product, or we didn't understand our customers, or we didn't engage them. That's the kind of language we should be hearing from players. And that's also what's setting us apart, right? Everything we do, we design around the customer, around the merchant. It's as simple as that. And in that sense, that's what's given us a great deal of stickiness and adoption of our product, even though a lot of our merchants were new to card, right? So these were segments that were previously ignored, that were deemed not relevant or ready to adopt card acceptance because it was too expensive and the like. What we figured out was that, yes, cost is a factor, but more than anything else is actually access, and almost this sense that you needed to justify a reason for you to get access to something to help you grow. No justification at all. You want to grow? Come to us. We'll give you a machine and you can grow.
And so finally, what are you guys doing with this money? So this X amount, what's the plan?
A couple of exciting things. So continuing on national scale, we really want to lead the market in terms of SME payment processing. And that's certainly our goal for this year. And I think we're poised to do that. We're growing quite fast. The next bit, which is quite exciting, and some stuff we've been keeping under the hood, is, we've been quietly developing some fintech products in our labs. This capital will be used to really launch these things into the market. And what's fantastic is that we can actually use our network of merchants as our own distribution channel, which is what makes this business amazing, right? There's never been distribution into SMEs before. We are syndicating and building our own distribution network into SMEs. So,
can you tell me how big that is right now?
How big the network? Well, we have 6,500 merchants in the market right now. We we expect these numbers to get quite interesting by the end of the year with our growth rates. And yeah, we once again becoming like sort of a financial services partner to these SMEs that once again we're just cut out from access to services is really exciting for us. And it's also the way we're going to do it, right? It's going to be sort of built in to the platform, almost like plumbing, right? As an example, we've done an integration into world-leading accounting platform Xero, which is basically automating transaction data into the accounting platform. And we want to get to a point where we've completely automated accounting, something business owners don't even have to think about, right? And imagine now you're really starting to formalize a business. So those two elements,
growth maybe into other markets.
So the product side, continuing to invest in the platform, automating, going deeper into automation. And then the final thing is doing the groundwork for international expansion into 2018. So really excited about that. We're hoping to do a pilot in one sub-Saharan market this year.
Are you saying which?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're still prioritizing. There's a lot of factors that we're looking at. Smartphone penetration, mobile money penetration, card penetration. There's a whole lot of variants.
Kenya, Nigeria, look out. Dude's not saying anything, but that's me.
You said it. But couldn't be more excited. Taking these powerful tools to SMEs. A lot of stuff is B2B. Everyone's afraid of acquiring small businesses. There's a lot of fear of managing a base of small businesses. We have the technology mindset and sort of data analytics to really make this happen in a profitable way and one that really scales.
Katlego Maphai, thank you so much for joining me on the African Tech Roundup. I know you have a board meeting with your new investors to get to, and your people are knocking on the door.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. I was really happy to speak to you.
And all the best with it.
Thank you very much.